Hi, fourth graders. This video will help you with your problem set today for Module 4, Lesson 11, and it's all about angles. I hope that you watched the video that went along with this, but let's start here. It says, write an equation and solve for the unknown angle measurements numerically. All right, so we know that this whole circle altogether has to be 360 degrees. We know this acute angle is 20 degrees. So to find angle D, we're not going to add these together. We need to subtract because it would be what number plus 20 equals 360. So we have 360 minus 20, and that would give you 340. And so then you could type right here, 340 degrees. If that happens, you just pull the box. There we go. All right, number 2 says, well, I know that this, because of that square, is a right angle, and right angles are 90 degrees. And I know the whole thing has to be 60. So this box will be 90. And now to figure out the missing angle, if I know the whole thing is 360, I need to subtract. So I have 360. That's how much I know I have all together. And I know one angle is 90, so I subtract 90 degrees. 0 minus 0 is 0. 6 minus 9, I can't do that, so I borrow from the 3. 16 take away 9 is 7. 2 take away nothing is 2, so it'll be 270. So 270 plus 90 equals 360. So the missing degree would be 270. All right, let's move down. Number 3 says, all right, so again, we know this whole thing has to be 360. So that's going to be my total. This degree, they tell me, is 74. And this one I know is 90 because it has that little square in the corner. So that means this one's 90 degrees right here. That little square means 90 degrees. So that'll be 90. And if I want to know this missing number, I have to think 74 plus 90 plus something equals 360. So the first thing I need to do is add 74 and 90. And then 7 plus 9 is 16. So I know my missing angle here has to be 164 degrees. Or no, that's what I added together. But now I need to know what this is missing, but the total has to be 360. So I take 360 and then I minus 164. And there we go, we gotta borrow again. And so 164 plus 196 will equal 360. So this has to be 196 degrees. So I can type that in and pull that box a little bit and it'll fit on the line. So the missing angle was 196 degrees. And that makes sense because we know a straight line is 180 and that's a little bit past a straight line. I'll erase this and we'll look at number 4. Number 4 has an error on it. And as I tried to work this out, I realized that this angle cannot be 60 degrees. This angle has to be 160 degrees. They forgot the 1 there, so this is 160. All right, so I know that one of my angles is 160 degrees. And I know that one of my angles here is 90 because it has that square. And I know the whole thing has to equal 360 degrees. So if I add 160 plus 90, that'll tell me this angle plus this angle, this one here, plus this one here. So 0, 5, 1, 2. Whoops. All right, but that's not my answer here because I need to subtract from 360. So 360, because that's my total, minus 250. And I'll get 110. So that means this angle, F, is 110 degrees, and that makes sense because if I drew the line here, it'd be 90, and it's a little past 90, so it'll be 110. So angle F is 110 degrees. All right, now I need to move down to the second slide, so you'll click on the number 2 over here. It says write an equation and solve for the unknown angles numerically. O is the intersection of AB and CD. So this is line AB, this is line CD, and the intersection is where they touch, that's O. DOA is 160 degrees. So this angle right here is 160 degrees. And AOC is 20 degrees. All right, so now that we know that information, we can solve for the missing angles. What I do know is that if this here is 160 degrees, the complementary angle COB is exactly the same. So if this is 160 degrees, the one exactly on the opposite is also 160 degrees. That would also be true for AOC. So if this angle is 20 degrees, the complementary angle over here would also be 20 degrees. And so X was 160 degrees and Y was 20 degrees. And if I added all of this together, 160, 160, 20, and 20, I would get 360 degrees. Number 6, O is the intersection of RS and TV. TOS is 125 degrees. And so just like in the problem before, if I know TOS is 125, the angle on the exact opposite side, the complementary angle, also has to be 125. So I know that angle H is 125. Now I have to figure out G and I, and I don't have an answer for G to make it so I can just copy it over here. But I do know that the whole thing has to be 360. So I know that 125 plus 125 plus G plus I plus angle G and plus angle I have to equal 360 degrees. And with that information, I can solve for G and I. So 125 plus 125 is 250. Now I can subtract that because I know that this equals 250 from 360. So 360 minus 250 gives me 110. Now these both can't be 110. I have 2 of them. And when I add these together, they equal 110. So I have to think what number plus the exact same number equals 110. I could also solve for that by doing this. 110 divided by 2. Because I have 2 angles and they need to be the exact same number. So I think, can 2 go? No. Can 2 go into 11? Yes, 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. And I subtract. And then I bring down that 0. And then it's 5 again. 5 times 2 is 10. And I can subtract. And so each angle has to be 55 degrees. And then if I added 125 plus 125 plus 55 plus 55, I would get 360. So each of these have to be 55. And I think we're almost at the end here. Number 7, let me erase this so we're not, no. I'm not sure where that just all went. Let's see if I can find it. I found it. All right, so our last one here is O is the intersection of WX and YZ and UO. Angle XOZ is 36. So we have to find quite a few of the angles here, but we know the whole thing has to equal 360. The first thing I know is that this angle right here has to be 90. I also know that if this angle is 36, then the complementary angle, the one right across from it, also has to be 36. I also know that WX is a straight line. So if I add 90 plus M plus 360, a straight line is 180 degrees. So 90 plus M plus 36 has to equal 180 degrees. So I can solve for M and find this answer. So 90 plus 36 equals 126. And I know when I add these together, I need 180. So I'll have to subtract 126 from 180. Can't do that. 7 take away 2 is 5. So I know that M has to be 54 degrees because I just solved for M right here. All right, and so now I know 90, 54, 36, and I know that this is 36. So the whole thing has to equal 360 degrees. So I could do the same thing I did with the 180 degrees. If I know that this line is 180, 36 plus N has to equal 180. So I have to think, what number could I add to 36 to get 180? Well, I could just subtract 180 minus 36. I can't do that, so I cross this out. 10 take away 6 is 4. 7 take away 3 is 4. 1 take away 1. 1 take away nothing is 1. So this angle would have to be 144 degrees. So now I can go in here and solve because I have all my angles written. K, so I find angle K, and we know that that's 36 because K is here, and that's the complementary angle from here. So I'm going to type in 36. I know that M, we solved up here, was 54. And we know that N is 144. And that should be all.